You are listening to The Alpha's Last Station, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. What happens when you stamp validated on the forehead of the wrong brother? While a tactical wallaby cheers you on, Nell's been running for years. One suppressant bracelet keeping her alpha wolf hidden. One ticket booth at a remote Australian train station keeping her invisible. And one 5-year-old son who doesn't know his father was killed for loving an alpha who dared to love him back. Jamie Winters? He's just the beta brother, the reliable one, the one who gets validation stamped on the forehead by an overzealous wallaby named Bumper, who insists he's running military operations from the ticket office. But here's the thing about last chances. They arrive when you've stopped looking. They don't care that you're hiding from a pack that wants you dead. And they definitely don't care that everyone thinks you're mated to the wrong brother. This isn't just a shifter romance. This is a story about choosing to stop running even when running is safer. About a wallaby who takes tactical training very seriously. About found family being better than blood family. And yes, about discovering that sometimes the wrong brother is exactly the right mate. This is an original story written on demand for you. Created specifically for this channel's audience who requested paranormal romances with unique twists, genuine emotion, and talking animals that steal every scene. Want your story idea next? Comment below. DN Leo reads every comment, and your engagement, whether liking, commenting, or sharing, is the only way to support this channel and keep these stories coming. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps other readers find their next favorite romance and lets us know what stories you want to hear next. Now let's head to Glen Valley Station, where one stamp is about to change everything. Chapter 1. The departing train's whistle cut through the falling snow like a promise breaking. Steam billowed against the white curtain as the last tourist-packed carriage disappeared into the mountain pass, taking with it the comfortable anonymity Nell had wrapped around herself for 5 years. She pressed her palm against the cold ticket booth window, breath fogging the glass. Fat snowflakes drifted past like they'd gotten lost on their way to somewhere that actually made sense. Somewhere that wasn't about to be turned into Australia's next big ski resort by some American developer with more money than unauthorized biscuit consumption in progress. The militant shriek made her suppressant bracelet pulse against her wrist, a reminder that even after all these years, her wolf still reacted to sudden noises like the predator she used to be. But Mum made them for afternoon tea, Theo protested, his words muffled by what was definitely criminal amounts of Anzac biscuit. She didn't need to turn around. Bumper would be in full scout leader stance, chest puffed, tiny paws planted where his hips would be if wallabies came with proper hips. His tactical vest, complete with fake pouches he'd begged her to sew on, rustled with indignation. "That's 2 biscuits, Recruit Morrison!" The Wallaby Scout Manual clearly states that afternoon tea rations should be consumed with discipline and portion control. Mum, Bumper knocked over the sugar jar again. The wallaby's head whipped around. "Negative, that's a false accusation without supporting evidence." Crunch, crunch, crunch. Theodore James Morrison, Bumper's voice pitched to a frequency only achievable by betrayed marsupials. "That's 3 biscuits, 3, and you deployed deception tactics. This calls for immediate court-martial. Or scout-martial, whatever marsupials do." Nell's lips twitched despite the knot in her stomach. "Let him have them, Bumper. We'll be packing soon. Might be a while before we see homemade biscuits again." The wallaby bounded onto the counter, his vest snagging the ticket stamp. "Packing? Negative, absolutely negative. I've got 17 years of stamp collecting invested in this location." He grabbed the validated stamp like it was a service weapon. "You see this? This is order. This is civilization." Thunk. Red ink blazed across a ticket. "Without proper stamp protocol, society crumbles." Thunk. Another ticket fell victim to express. "You see how long it would take to handwrite validated? The inefficiency alone. You can take whatever fits in this box." Nell placed an empty donut box on the counter, already regretting it. Bumper's eyes narrowed as he assessed the container like it was a military logistics problem. This is a war crime against stamp collecting. I'll need to prioritize. The vintage 1987 canceled stays, obviously. But what about my limited edition Platform 2? He clutched his chest dramatically. Sophie's choice, but with rubber stamps. Speaking of choices, his black eyes gleamed with the particular brand of mischief that meant trouble. We're abandoning our strategically defensible position because A, you require a change of scenery for mental health reasons, or B, you've developed feelings for that Boston Alpha with the fancy suits and the jawline that could cut glass. Heat crawled up her neck. I don't have a thing for Alex Winters. Calling him by his full name, classic crush behavior. The Black Ridge Pack's investment is good for Glen Valley, but terrible for us because it brings attention, Pax, the whole supernatural circus to our doorstep. Bumper nodded sagely. So we're fleeing because of his business developments, not because you go all swoony when he does that thing with his sleeves. What thing with his sleeves? The rolling up thing, you know, when he's reviewing blueprints and he gets all focused and you're blushing. I'm not blushing. Threat approaching. 6 o'clock, it's him with flowers. What? She spun so fast her auburn braid whipped against her cheek. No flowers. Bumper's whiskers twitched with glee. But you should see your face. He's definitely heading this way, though. That's his, I mean business, but in a sexy way walk. Bumper. Seriously, Nell Castlemaine, you're redder than my urgent stamp. What happened to we barely spoke twice? We did barely. But Alex Winters was indeed striding toward the platform, snow dusting his charcoal coat like he'd stepped out of some corporate fairy tale. 50 feet away and closing, each step precise despite the weather, and behind him, her wolf stirred beneath the suppressant's hold. 5 shadows moving wrong, too fluid, too focused, rogues. Alex, behind you! The shout tore from her throat before she could think about staying invisible, staying hidden, staying safe. He pivoted, pure instinct, pure alpha, as all 5 attacked in human form. Crack. His fist connected with the first attacker's jaw with a sound like breaking kindling. The rogue spun into the snow, but 2 more were already moving, trying to flank him. Alex flowed between them like water finding its path. Every movement economical, brutal, beautiful. An elbow to a windpipe. A knee that folded another rogue in half. Even in his expensive coat, even outnumbered, he fought like what he was. An alpha defending his ground. Her fingers found Theo's shoulder before she realized she'd moved. When danger comes, I must hide and keep myself safe so Mum doesn't worry. Her 5-year-old's voice held that eerie steadiness that made her chest ache. Too young to sound so practiced at disappearing. Scout rule number 1. Protect the young. Bumper saluted with military precision. Initiating evacuation protocol. Come on, recruit. As Bumper herded Theo toward the back room, single file. Watch your 6. The biscuits can't save you now. Nell tracked the fight through the frosted window. 2 rogues down. Alex had the 3rd in a chokehold. The kind of efficiency that came from real training, not back-alley brawls. If he was this controlled in human form, his wolf would be movement. The 4th rogue's hand sliding to his belt. Her wolf snarled recognition. Dart gun, left side! Too late. The projectile hissed through the snow, embedding in Alex's neck before her warning fully formed. He yanked it out immediately. Smart, but whatever coded that dart was already working. His grip loosened. The rogue twisted free. He fought on, movements growing sluggish, desperate. A wild haymaker that caught one attacker's temple, a kick that sent another sprawling. But he was fading, and they knew it. Alex's eyes found the ticket booth, found her, and he ran. She yanked the door open as he stumbled through, slamming it shut and throwing the ancient bolt that probably wouldn't stop a determined teenager, let alone wolves. The remaining rogues hesitated as a train whistle shrieked through the storm. The return service from the mountains, right on schedule. Through the window, she watched them gather their unconscious packmates and melt back into the white. Alex. His eyes rolled back, showing white like a spooked horse, and he dropped. "Man down, man down!" Bumper burst from the back room, tactical vest flapping. "This is not a drill. Requesting immediate medical evacuation. Someone get the anti-venom or the anti-whatever." She was already on her knees, fingers finding Alex's pulse. Too fast, too shallow. The puncture wound on his neck was small, precise, professional. She loosened his tie, the silk slipping through her fingers like water, and caught his scent beneath the expensive cologne. Pine, storm, alpha. Poison. The word tasted like ash. Can human doctors treat supernatural poison? Bumper's tactical bravado cracked, showing real concern beneath. They can't cure it, but they can slow the spread. Buy us time to... Footsteps, running, boot falls too heavy for paramedics. "Medical support incoming!" Bumper yanked the door open with both paws. Not medical, not even close. The man filling her doorway moved like Alex did, controlled power, casual danger. But where Alex was polished CEO, this one was worn denim and rough edges. Same jaw, though, same storm gray eyes that went wide seeing Alex on the floor. "Close door!" She grabbed the first weapon in reach. The vintage, "Welcome to Mountain Glen Station" sign they'd just spent a fortune restoring, and swung it. The crack of heritage timber meeting skull was deeply satisfying. He dropped to his knees, hands flying to his head, which gave Bumper the opening he'd been training for. Tactical wallaby strike! The marsupial launched himself rear first, using his powerful tail and back legs to slam into the intruder's spine. The man pitched forward, and Bumper landed on his back, standing victorious. Nobody move, or the lady with the anger management issues gets another swing. "Lady," the man groaned into the floor, "one more hit with that heritage welcome sign and I'll have to defend myself. Though I should mention I don't endorse violence against historic landmarks or people." Says the man face down on my floor. Nell adjusted her grip on the sign. He twisted, rolling despite Bumper's weight, and the wallaby saw his chance. The stamp came down on the man's forehead with the decisive thunk of bureaucratic justice. "You have the right to remain silent." Bumper brandished the stamp like a tiny rubber weapon. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of wallaby law, which I'm currently inventing. But it's very official." The man flowed to his feet in one motion. Nell raised the sign higher. "One more step. I'm his brother." Hands up, palms out. Classic don't hit me again position. "Jamie Winters, can we maybe discuss this without more heritage site violence?" "Prove it." He moved slowly, pulling out his wallet. The driver's license read James Winters, same last name and American address. The photo showed the same gray eyes, though these ones had laugh lines. She lowered the sign but didn't let go. Jamie knelt beside Alex, fingers finding the same pulse points she had. "Poisoned? Dart. Small dose." He pulled it out fast. "Don't know what kind, but it's not immediately lethal. Has a sedative effect." The medical words felt strange in her mouth after years of handing out train tickets. "Ambulance is coming." I should state for the record," Bumper interrupted, puffing his chest, "that the bumping was a tactical decision. Also, you should be impressed I can talk instead of making obvious observations about it." Jamie glanced at the wallaby. "I've seen worse things than a talking marsupial with authority issues." "Authority issues?" Bumper's voice climbed octaves. "I'll have you know I'm Scout Captain Bumper, decorated veteran of the Great Biscuit Shortage of 20... Right." Sirens wailed through the snow. "I'll handle the locals, Mr. Winters," Nell said. "Jamie." He looked up at her, and for a second she forgot he wasn't the brother she'd been not thinking about for weeks. "And thank you for the warm welcome." She snorted, looking at the welcome sign. "Thanks for helping my brother and for not hitting me a second time." The paramedics burst in, efficient in the way of people used to ski accidents and tourist mishaps. They checked vitals, started an IV, loaded Alex onto a stretcher with practiced ease. "He's stable," one told her. "Appears comatose, possibly shock or head trauma. We'll run tests at the hospital." He pulled out a tablet. "You called it in?" "Yes." And you are? Nell Castlemaine, station manager, ticket officer, janitor, and vending machine curator. I'm very versatile. The paramedic's mouth twitched. Right. Police will need the security footage. I'll have it ready. He turned to Jamie. You were here during the attack? Just arrived. I'm his brother. You can ride with us or follow. Do you have a car? Jamie's ears went red. I'll ride along. Don't really trust myself driving on the wrong side of the road yet. Sure thing, mate. The paramedic squinted. Why do you have validated stamped on your forehead? Jamie touched the red mark, his eyes finding the ticket booth where Bumper had mysteriously vanished. Just my luck, he muttered, following the stretcher. Come to Australia, get assaulted by a wallaby with a stamping fetish. As the ambulance pulled away, Nell heard a small whisper from the back room. Can I come out now, Mum? Yes, sweetheart. Did I stamp him good? Bumper's whiskers twitched with pride. Return to sender would have been better. Or fragile. Handle with care. Though technically he already looks handled with care. Handled with a welcome sign. Theo giggled, the sound bright against the fading sirens. You stamped his face, Bumper. Tactical stamping, recruit. There's a difference. Now, about those remaining biscuits. Chapter 2. The morning light filtered through the ticket booth window, turning the dust motes into lazy gold confetti. Nell's fingers trembled as she handed over the massive key ring. 17 keys for a station that only needed 3, but Adam had always been thorough like that. Stop looking like you're handing me a death sentence, love. Adam's weathered hands closed around the keys, his knuckles swollen with arthritis that no amount of shifting could cure anymore. The old wolf's scent, pipe tobacco and eucalyptus oil, wrapped around her like the hug he wouldn't give, not here where anyone could see. I'm dragging you out of retirement. The words scraped past the guilt lodged in her throat. My tomatoes will survive without me for a few months. He settled into her chair, his chair really, from decades before she'd shown up, and the ancient wood creaked its welcome home. Besides, this place needs someone who knows the difference between the 7:15 express and the 7:45 local. She tried to smile, failed. Adam, whatever brought you here, Nell? He pulled out his thermos, the same battered green one he'd had years ago when she'd stumbled off a midnight freight train, infant screaming in her arms, blood still crusted under her fingernails. It's the same thing driving you away now. Unwanted attention. Packs sniffing around where they shouldn't. Her suppressant bracelet pulsed cold against her wrist. If I can't provide anything good, I won't bring danger to this place. Understood. Adam's brown eyes, faded now, clouded at the edges, held the same steady warmth that had made her trust him that first terrible night. You showed up half dead with a pup barely weeks old, and I didn't ask questions then. Won't start now. The memory crashed over her, Theo's newborn wails echoing through the empty station, her body shaking from exhaustion, while her wolf howled for a pack that would never accept her again. Adam wordlessly pressing the keys into her palm, and a thermos of soup that tasted like salvation. You took us in, her voice cracked. No questions, no judgment, just an old wolf who knows what running looks like. He stood, joints popping like bubble wrap, and for a moment she saw him as he'd been, broad-shouldered, steady, the kind of beta who kept packs stable through quiet strength. You're still that same girl, Nell, fierce as anything, protecting that pup with everything you've got. Tears burned behind her eyes. He's growing up fast, but we need more time. Yes, but for Theo to realize his full potential, he'll need to be whole. Adam's fingers drummed against the thermos, his tell when he was about to say something difficult. You gave him life. You're all he needs to survive, even to become an alpha. But there's a void where a father figure should be. That absence might be his weakness someday. Her throat constricted. I know. Can't force these things, of course. His weathered face softened. But when opportunity knocks, maybe don't deadbolt the door immediately. What are you saying? You've got male attention lingering in here. He tapped his nose. The scent's practically painted on the walls. Trust me, old wolves notice these things. Heat crawled up her neck. Alex had been unconscious within seconds of entering. When exactly had he been paying attention to? That blush tells me your wolf noticed him too. You know me too well. The words came out strangled. His hand hovered near her shoulder, not quite touching. Adam had always been careful about boundaries. If you ever need a roof over your head, a place to land, what's mine is yours. The cottage, the station, whatever you need. That's not charity, that's pack. The word pack hit her sternum like a physical blow. She hadn't had pack in years, just this makeshift family of an old wolf, a delusional wallaby, and her son, who was already showing signs of being too powerful for his own good. Adam, A knock on the glass made them both turn. A woman stood outside, cashmere coat, designer boots that had no business on an icy platform, and the kind of desperate energy that made Nell's wolf bristle. The woman gestured urgently toward the door. Nell approached, already forming the words, "The steam train isn't operating today." "You're Nell?" "Yes, but please, I need to speak with you." The American accent confirmed what the expensive clothes suggested. Nell opened the side door. "Thank you so much for saving my son." The woman's perfectly manicured hands trembled. "I'm Ellen, Alex's mother. This is Adam. He's managing the station from now on." Ellen's face crumpled like tissue paper. "You're leaving? Why?" The door burst open again. Jamie filled the frame, slightly out of breath. "Sorry, Nell. Mom moves like a guided missile when she's worried." He ran a hand through his hair, making it stick up at angles. "Took me ages to park on the correct side of the—" He stopped, registering his mother's expression. "What happened?" "She's leaving." Ellen's voice pitched higher, tears threatening. "Jamie, this is Adam." Nell forced steadiness into her voice. "He's taking over the station. And yes, Mrs. Winters, I'm leaving Glen Valley." "Because of yesterday?" Jamie's gray eyes searched hers. "The attack?" Nell glanced at Adam, then back to Jamie and his mother. "No, it's been planned." Before Nell could step back, Ellen grabbed her hands, ice-cold fingers, designer rings cutting into Nell's palms. "Alex won't wake up. The doctors say his vitals are stable, but he just won't wake up." Ellen's breath hitched. "They're human doctors. They don't understand his wolf is waiting for you. But a mother knows." "Mom." Jamie gently extracted his mother's hands from Nell's. "You're scaring her. We don't know that for certain." His eyes found Nell's, apologetic. "The doctors think it's a concussion from the fall. They say he needs time." The poison. Either Jamie hadn't told his mother about the dart, or the human doctors couldn't detect supernatural toxins. Probably both. "I don't think his wolf is waiting for me, ma'am." "He's been talking about his chosen mate for weeks." Ellen's composure cracked, mascara starting to run. "He brought us here to meet you. If not you, then who?" "I really don't think, please." Ellen's voice broke completely. "Just a moment. For this old mother who can't lose another—" She choked on whatever came next. Nell's chest tightened. She saw herself in Ellen's desperation, the way she'd beg, borrow, or steal to save Theo if needed. Adam cleared his throat. "Love, go with the lady. Won't take long." He pulled out his toolbox from under the counter with theatrical emphasis. "I'll swing by your place, sort out those pipes in the kitchen." "Pipes, yes, the plumbing issue." Nell caught his meaning. He'd check on Theo, make sure everything was secure. "Please." Tears streamed freely down Ellen's cheeks now. If his mate leaves while he's vulnerable, his wolf could— She couldn't finish, pressing a hand to her mouth. Jamie's eyes met Nell's over his mother's head, and she read a whole conversation there. "I'm sorry." She's desperate. "I know this is awkward. Please." Adam's look was clearer. "I'll watch Theo. Go." "One visit." The words felt like swallowing broken glass. "Just one." Ellen sagged with relief. "Thank you. Oh, thank you, dear." Jamie guided his mother toward the door, his hand gentle on her elbow. As he turned, the morning light caught his profile, and Nell caught his scent on the cold air. Coffee and leather and something wild underneath, like rain on pine needles in a cool mountain morning. Different from Alex's cologne and ambition smell, earthier, more real. Adam caught her elbow as she passed, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Keep your mind open, Nell." His chin tilted toward Jamie's retreating back. "Is that what you meant before?" He nodded, the sense even stronger now, not the one lying in hospital. Her teeth clenched. "That's not possible. As I said, open mind." She stepped into the biting wind, and immediately, Jamie's hand found her elbow as her boot hit black ice. "Careful." His breath warmed her ear, his palm sliding to the small of her back, steady, sure, like he'd been catching her all his life. The touch burned through her coat, through her defenses, straight to the wolf that suddenly wanted to lean into his warmth. Not possible, she told herself again, but her wolf had already decided it was. The Winters mansion sprawled across the hillside like something that had gotten lost on its way to Sydney's North Shore. 3 stories of sandstone and glass, surrounded by gardens that probably required a full-time staff just to keep the snow off the hedges. Alex had been here 4 months, according to the development permits she'd stamped at the station. Long enough to establish territory, not long enough to call it home. Bit much, isn't it? Jamie's voice carried a hint of embarrassment as he led her through the marble foyer. Alex likes to make statements. It could accommodate generations. The words echoed in the vast space. That's the plan, apparently. Something flickered across his face, not quite sadness, not quite resignation. Alex thinks big. The master bedroom felt wrong with its occupant so still. Alex lay in the center of a king-sized bed, his chest rising and falling with mechanical precision. The powerful alpha who'd fought 5 rogues yesterday had been reduced to this, helpless, diminished. Her healer's heart clenched despite herself. She moved to the bedside, muscle memory from another life taking over, checked the pulse, steady but slow, examined the puncture wound, already healing on the surface, but the poison worked deeper than skin. Feel for fever, none, which was worse than burning up. Jamie stood by the window, giving her space. He'd been like that the entire drive over, present but not pressing, maintaining a careful distance that should have been professional but felt more like restraint. His reflection in the glass showed him watching her, though, cataloging her movements with an intensity that made her neck prickle. Adam's words echoed, the sense even stronger now. But how could Adam know what Jamie wanted when she couldn't smell anything clearly through this damn suppressant? The bracelet that kept her hidden also kept her half blind, muting the world into watercolors when she needed the sharp edges of scent to navigate. She could smell the obvious things, Ellen's anxiety sharp as vinegar, the poison's wrongness like rotted flowers. But the subtle stuff? The pheromones that would tell her if Jamie's careful distance was disinterest or self-control? Nothing. Her wolf prowled restlessly beneath the suppressant's weight, responding to something she couldn't consciously detect. It kept pulling her attention to Jamie's hands, steady, capable, with small scars across the knuckles, from real work, not boardroom battles, to the way he breathed, controlled but not quite even when she got close, to how he'd positioned himself between her and the door, protective without being obvious about it. I need to check his blood. The clinical words helped her focus. Whatever you need. Jamie moved immediately to the medical kit the doctors had left, efficient without crowding her space. His hand brushed hers as he passed her a lancet, brief, electric, carefully accidental. She pricked Alex's finger, brought the blood drop to her nose, and breathed deep. The scent hit her like a slap, northern pack. The room tilted. She gripped the bed frame, knuckles white, as memories crashed through her. Shamans in bone masks, wolves writhing in agony. Her father's best warrior reduced to a drooling husk because he'd challenged the wrong alpha's claim. Nell? Jamie stepped closer, not touching but near enough that his warmth cut through the ice spreading through her chest. What is it? She glanced toward the hallway where Ellen's voice drifted from another room, on the phone with another specialist. It's not a normal poison. Her voice came out steadier than her hands. It's specific. Shamanic. Jamie's jaw tightened. How bad? Northern pack shamans make it. It's called sleeper's breath. She set down the lancet carefully, buying time to arrange her words. It won't kill him. But he won't wake up either. Not without the antidote. The doctors said, the doctors can't detect what they don't understand. She met his eyes, saw him processing, accepting, already moving past denial to action. Human medicine won't touch this. How long? His voice stayed level, but his hands had become fists. How long will he stay like this? Forever. Unless someone who knew the old ways, who'd been trained by a master healer, who had access to ingredients that grew in places most wolves had forgotten existed, until someone makes the antidote. Kiasi. Truth without confession. Jamie's carefully maintained distance collapsed. He sank into the chair beside Alex's bed, head in his hands, fingers raking through his hair. Jamie. I have to tell her. He looked up, and the raw pain in his eyes made her wolf whine. I have to tell my mother her son might never... He stopped, swallowed hard. She already lost my father. This will destroy her. Without thinking, Nell touched his shoulder. The muscle beneath her palm was rigid with tension, but he leaned into the contact infinitesimally, so slight she might have imagined it if her wolf hadn't purred at the acceptance. There are healers. Careful words. Old ones who might know, would you? He looked up at her, gray eyes desperate. If you knew someone, would you help us find them? The weight of what she wasn't saying pressed against her ribs. Mom's coming. Jamie stood suddenly, and sure enough, footsteps echoed down the hallway. He crossed to the door, his shoulders setting as he physically prepared himself to break his mother's heart. Mom, we need to talk about Alex's condition. As he led Ellen away, his eyes found Nell's one last time. Not pleading, not demanding, just trusting. Like he knew she was more than she'd admitted and was giving her space to decide what to do with that. The door clicked shut. Alone with the unconscious Alpha, Nell checked her phone. No signal. Strange. She'd had full bars at the station. Tap, tap, tap. She spun toward the window. Bumper's face pressed against the glass. Tactical vest plastered with snow, holding up a piece of paper. Urgent. Theo needs you. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she yanked open the window. What happened? Your offspring requires immediate maternal intervention. Bumper tumbled inside, shaking snow everywhere. Why didn't Adam call? She was already grabbing her phone, checking again. Still no signal. That's the fascinating part. Bumper pointed at her phone with one tiny paw. Your communication device appears to be non-functional within this perimeter. What? Signal jamming technology, very sophisticated. Alex must really value his privacy. Bumper snatched the phone from her hand with surprising dexterity. Allow me to demonstrate. Before she could protest, the wallaby bounded back through the window and hopped across the snowy garden. About 20 meters out, he held up the phone triumphantly as it burst to life with notifications. Bumper, give that back! But she could already see the missed calls lighting up the screen. Adam. Multiple times. She didn't think, just climbed through the window, her boots crunching into snow as she half ran, half slid toward the wallaby. The phone rang the instant she grabbed it. Adam? Finally. His voice was controlled, but she heard the worry underneath. Theo's fever is back. Her stomach dropped. The fever that came like clockwork ever since Marcus's wolves had beaten her during pregnancy, trying to force her to miscarry. Theo's little body still paid the price for her survival. How high? 39.5 and climbing. He's asking for you. I'm coming. She was already moving, scanning for Adam's truck. Where are you? Bottom of the hill. Didn't want to bring him to the house in case it was contagious. In case the rich Americans couldn't handle a sick child. In case. 2 minutes. She ended the call and ran. Behind her, Bumper shouted something about tactical retreat protocols, but all she could hear was her son's fevered voice in her memory, the way he always called for her when the sickness came. the way his little body shook with chills that had nothing to do with cold and everything to do with the violence he'd absorbed before he was even born. She slipped twice on the icy slope, caught herself, kept running. The truck's outline appeared through the snow, exhaust puffing white clouds. She could see Adam in the driver's seat, and in the back a small bundled form. Her wolf snarled, desperate to break free, to get to her pup faster than human legs could carry her. But the suppressant held, keeping her trapped in this too slow body as she ran toward her sick child, leaving the mansion and its poisoned alpha and its complicated beta behind. Nothing mattered but Theo. Chapter 3. The truck's heater rattled like dying bones, but Nell barely noticed. Theo burned in her arms, his small body radiating heat that had nothing to do with infection and everything to do with trauma encoded in his cells before he was even born. "Mom?" His voice came out cracked. "Too old for 5 years. I'm okay." The lie shattered something in her chest. He always said that, "I'm okay, don't worry, it'll pass." Like he was the parent and she was the child who needed comforting. His little hand patted her arm weakly, and she wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all. "I know, baby." She pressed her lips to his damp forehead, tasting salt and sorrow. "Just rest." "Don't cry, Mom." His fingers found her cheek, came away wet. She hadn't realized her tears had fallen. "I'm not—" "You said it's okay to cry when it hurts." His eyes, glassy with fever, held too much understanding. "I don't want you to get hurt, Mom. This fever will go away again. It won't hurt me, and I won't let it hurt you." The words gutted her, 5 years old and already trying to protect her from his pain, like he knew exactly how much it destroyed her, watching him suffer for her sins. For the night she'd tried to save her pack and lost everything. For the wolves who'd kicked her swollen belly until she'd begged them to kill her instead, to spare the child who hadn't asked to be born into violence. "Breathe, love," Adam's voice from the driver's seat, steady as ancient stone. "He's strong, stronger than you know." But she was supposed to be a healer, the youngest master healer in 3 generations, they'd called her. She could mend broken bones with a touch, draw poison from blood, sing wolves back from the edge of death. She'd saved strangers, enemies, people who'd tried to kill her. She couldn't save her son from a fever that came like a cruel visitor, marking time with fresh suffering. "Temperature?" Adam asked quietly. She pressed her hand to Theo's neck, feeling with more than touch. 39.8. Stable then. Stable. Like that made it better. Like her 5-year-old burning from the inside was acceptable as long as the numbers didn't climb higher. The truck door yanked open hard enough to rock the vehicle. "What the hell?" Jamie stood in the snow, his breath coming in white puffs, eyes wild. Snow clung to his hair, his shoulders, like he'd sprinted through the storm. Behind him, the mansion loomed through the white curtain. "The kid sick?" His gaze locked on Theo, and his whole body went rigid. The careful control from earlier shattered. "Why didn't you—" "Jesus, he's burning up." "He's fine with me, Jamie." The words came out sharper than intended, her wolf bristling at the implied criticism. "He's not fine. He needs—" Jamie stopped, his jaw working as he visibly collected himself. When he spoke again, his voice was careful, controlled, but she could hear the effort it took. "Bring him inside. There's a guest room, proper heating, clean sheets." "We're fine here." She pulled Theo closer, his small body too light, too fragile. She didn't know Jamie, didn't know his pack. Years of running had taught her that strange packs meant danger, especially when her child was vulnerable. "Nell." Adam's voice held a warning, or maybe encouragement. With Adam, they often sounded the same. "The boy needs comfort." "Tactical assessment." Bumper's head popped up from behind the front seat where he'd been hiding. "Indoor facilities provide superior thermal regulation and proximity to medical supplies. Also, they probably have better biscuits." "Bumper, however," the wallaby pointed dramatically at Jamie, "your intentions toward this family unit require verification. State your purpose, Beta." Jamie blinked at the wallaby, then at Nell, then back at the wallaby. My purpose is getting a sick kid out of a truck and into a warm bed. Acceptable. Bumper's vest rustled as he pulled out a stamp. But you're on probation. Before Jamie could respond, he'd already reached for Theo, hands hovering but not touching. May I? The question hung between them. Before she could answer, Theo's arms lifted, reaching for Jamie with the instinct of a child who somehow knew safety when he felt it. Her breath caught. Theo never went to strangers. Never. Jamie's eyes widened slightly, and she saw the moment he stopped breathing. He gathered Theo with infinite care, like he was handling spun glass, supporting the boy's head the way you would an infant's, even though Theo was 5. His large hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his hold, trying 3 different positions before settling on one that seemed to satisfy him. Am I holding him right? The question came out rough, uncertain. Something in her chest twisted at the naked vulnerability in his voice. He's not going to break. Feels like he might. Jamie shifted Theo slightly, shielding the boy's face from the falling snow with his own body. Each step toward the house was measured, careful, like he was carrying something precious and wasn't quite sure he was allowed. Nell scrambled after them, her boots slipping on ice. Jamie's free hand shot out, steadying her elbow without looking, like some part of him was constantly tracking where she was. Perimeter secured! Bumper bounded ahead, tactical vest flapping, establishing defensive positions. The guest room Jamie chose glowed with warmth, soft yellows and creams, nothing like the sterile master bedroom where Alex lay unconscious. Jamie stood in the doorway for a moment, Theo still in his arms, looking lost. The bed, Nell prompted gently. Right, yes. He moved to the bed, then stopped. Do I put him on top of the covers or under? She was already pulling back the duvet, her hands brushing his as they settled Theo together. Jamie's fingers lingered, unnecessarily adjusting the pillow 3 times, smoothing blankets that didn't need smoothing. Water, he said suddenly. He needs water. And something for the fever. What do you give kids? Is children's Tylenol different from regular? What if he's allergic? I should ask. Jamie. She caught his wrist as he turned to leave. His pulse hammered under her fingers. He just needs rest. Right. He stared at where she touched him, then carefully extracted his hand. Of course, He grabbed a washcloth from the bathroom, wet it, wrung it out, wet it again, wrung it out again. For his forehead. That helps, right? My mom used to... He placed the cloth on Theo's forehead with the concentration of someone diffusing a bomb. Theo's eyes fluttered open. You smell safe, he mumbled at Jamie, then rolled toward his mother. Jamie froze, his face cycling through emotions too fast to track. He backed toward the door like Theo's words had shoved him. I'll get water and towels and things. He was already moving. Whatever you need. I need to stay with him. She was already curling around Theo, her body a barrier between him and the world. He's used to, when the fever comes, I'm always... Of course. Jamie's hand hovered over the doorknob. I'll be right outside if you need anything. Anything at all, just call or knock or... He stopped, took a breath. I'll be outside. He looked back once, his eyes lingering on them, mother and child curled together, with something that looked like longing. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut with careful quietness. Guard duty established! Bumper planted himself in the doorway, but not before pulling out his approved stamp and disappearing into the hallway for a moment. Through the door, she heard Jamie's surprised laugh, the first genuine sound of joy she'd heard from him. You stamped my hand. Probation period successfully completed, Bumper announced with dignity. You've been upgraded to approved status, conditionally. Conditionally? Continue demonstrating adequate care protocols and the approval remains. Fail and you'll get rejected right on your forehead. I've been practicing my aim. Time blurred after that. Theo's fever ebbed and flowed like tide, and she sang the old songs her mother had taught her, the ones that couldn't heal but could comfort. His small hand clutched hers, and she counted his breaths, counted his heartbeats, counted the minutes until this would pass because it always passed. It had to pass. Through the door, she heard Jamie pacing. 3 steps left, 3 steps right. The rhythm of someone standing guard. "So you're her, what, bodyguard?" His voice was conversational, but she heard the underlying tension. "Scout captain, actually." Bumper's pride was audible. Also tactical advisor, co-parent, and stamp administrator. "Right, the stamps." A pause. "You know, you're nothing like what I expected when I came to Australia. I'm one of a kind. Limited edition. Collector's item, really." "I can see that." The pacing stopped. "Can I ask you something?" "Depends. Will it require me to violate operational security?" "When did Alex meet her? Nell?" Silence stretched. Then Bumper's voice, oddly serious. "That information is classified under Wallaby Protection Act, Section 7, subsection J. You just made that up. Prove it." The sound of a stamp being dramatically uncapped. "One more invasive question and you're getting return to sender right on your forehead again." "I'm just trying to understand. Understand this." Bumper's voice dropped to what he probably thought was intimidating. "Nell's privacy is protected by the full force of Wallaby law. Also, regular law. Also, my personal commitment to tactical defensive measures. You really care about them. They're my unit. Simple. Final. And honestly, you seem adequate for them. Possibly even good. But that's Nell's choice, not mine." We're not..." Jamie's voice cracked slightly. "Her kid might be my brother's." The pacing resumed, faster now, almost agitated. "Might be lots of things." Bumper's tone suggested he knew more than he was saying. "Doesn't change what I can smell." "Which is?" "Classified. But you should probably shower more or less. I haven't decided which would help." "That's not even..." "The point is," Bumper interrupted, "you're living by some code that's making you miserable. Standing out here pacing when you want to be in there. Drawing lines that don't need drawing." "She's my brother's." "Is she, though? Has anyone actually confirmed that? Or are you just assuming because it's easier than admitting you've been breathing her in since you got validated yesterday?" The pacing stopped completely. "Jamie?" Ellen's voice echoed down the hallway. "Are you talking to someone?" The silence that followed was deafening. Then Ellen again, closer. Is that a wallaby? In tactical gear? Having a conversation?" "G'day, ma'am," Bumper saluted. "Scout Captain Bumper reporting for duty. You must be the matriarch. Lovely mansion, excellent biscuit potential." Through the door, Nell heard Ellen Winters, sophisticated Boston society matron, make a sound that could only be described as a squeak. Chapter 4. Morning light streamed through the guest room window, painting golden stripes across Theo's face. His fever had broken around dawn, leaving him pale but bright-eyed, already fidgeting to escape the bed. "Can we see the snow, Mum?" He bounced slightly, testing her watchfulness. "Bumper said there's enough to build an army." "A snow army?" "For tactical purposes." His attempt at Bumper's serious voice, chest puffed, whiskers twitching, made her heart squeeze. She helped him dress, his small body still radiating warmth through his pajamas but sturdy again. The resilience of children, breaking her heart and healing it in the same breath. The hallway smelled of coffee and bacon, domesticity wrapping around her like silk scarves, beautiful and suffocating. Ellen's voice drifted from somewhere below, bright with an energy that hadn't been there yesterday, like someone had switched on a light inside her. "There they are!" Ellen appeared at the top of the stairs like she'd been waiting, listening for their door. Her face had transformed overnight. Gone was yesterday's desperate mother with mascara-stained cheeks. This was a grandmother who'd just discovered Christmas, Easter, and every birthday at once. "Oh, you look so much better, sweetheart." She knelt to Theo's level, her knees popping softly and Nell's muscles coiled. But Ellen's approach was perfect. Friendly but not overwhelming, leaving Theo space to choose, the way you'd approach a shy cat. "Bumper's in the breakfast room," Ellen said conspiratorially, her voice dropping to a stage whisper. "He's teaching me about tactical jam deployment." "Tactical jam?" Theo's eyes went wide as dinner plates. Apparently, strawberry is for beginners, but marmalade requires advanced clearance. Theo grabbed Nell's hand, his fingers still fever-warm, tugging with surprising strength. "Mom, we have to see." The breakfast room was sun-drenched chaos. Bumper stood on the table, tactical vest dusted with flour, demonstrating proper toast buttering stance with military precision, while Jamie sat nursing coffee, shadows under his eyes dark as bruises. His gaze found Nell's immediately, a flash of something raw, then dropped to his mug like it held answers. "Recruits present!" Bumper saluted with a butter knife, nearly losing his balance. "Morning briefing commencing. Today's mission, maximum breakfast consumption." "Bumper stamped my hand." Ellen showed off the red mark like a child with a gold star. "Premium grandmother." "You earned it," Bumper said solemnly, whiskers twitching with importance. "Your biscuit game is strong." Ellen beamed, actually beamed, light radiating from her whole being, and Jamie stood abruptly, his chair scraping against hardwood. "I haven't seen her this happy in years," he said quietly to Nell, moving to the coffee pot. His shoulder brushed hers, a whisper of warmth through cotton, and she couldn't tell if it was accidental or if his body simply gravitated toward her against his will. Not since Dad. The coffee he poured her was exactly right. 1 sugar, splash of milk, the spoon stirring counterclockwise the way she always did. When had he noticed? When had he cataloged these small pieces of her? "Theo, darling, would you like pancakes?" Ellen was already at the stove, wielding a spatula like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. "I used to make them for Alex and Jamie when they were your age." "With chocolate chips?" Theo asked hopefully, already climbing onto a chair. "Is there any other kind?" Ellen winked, and Theo actually giggled, a sound so rare and precious that Nell's throat constricted. This was what Theo had never had, a grandmother's doting, a full kitchen that smelled like vanilla and butter, the casual abundance of a real pack where food meant love, and there was always enough. "You must be so proud," Ellen said to Nell, flipping pancakes with the practiced ease of decades. "He's wonderful, just like his father at that age. Alex was always so serious, so protective." The words hit like ice water, but Ellen continued, oblivious, lost in her joy. "Though I suppose you knew Alex long before we did. When did you meet? He's been so secretive about his mate." "Mom." Jamie's voice carried warning sharp as winter wind. "Oh, I know. Privacy. But surely, now that we're going to be family..." She turned to Nell, eyes shining with tears that came from happiness for once. "You are staying, aren't you? Once Alex wakes up?" The lie sat between them like a living thing, growing bigger with every kind word, every gentle gesture, feeding on Ellen's hope until Nell could almost see it, thick and dark and choking. "He will wake up," Ellen said firmly, her hand finding Nell's, skin papery soft and warm. "No one with any sense would leave a family like this. Would leave you and Theo." Nell's coffee turned to ash in her mouth, bitter and choking. "Mrs. Winters, Ellen, please, or Mom if you're comfortable." Her smile trembled with sincerity. "I always wanted a daughter. We'll convert the East Wing for you. Theo can have the room next to yours, and Bumper, do wallabies have housing preferences?" "Tactical positioning near the kitchen," Bumper said through a mouthful of jam, crumbs spraying. "For security purposes." Of course. Ellen said it like it made perfect sense, like talking wallabies and tactical jam were just part of her new, complete life. "Jamie, show Nell the East Wing after breakfast. She should see where they'll be living." Jamie's jaw worked, muscle jumping beneath skin. "Mom, maybe we should let them settle in first?" "You're right." Ellen's fingers squeezed Nell's hand, gentle as butterfly wings but leaving invisible marks. "No pressure, dear. But know that everything we have is yours, here or in Boston. When Theo's older, he'll follow in Alex's footsteps. Alpha of the most powerful pack in New England. It's his birthright. Theo looked up from his pancakes, chocolate smeared on his chin like war paint. What's a birthright? Something that belongs to you, Ellen said softly, reaching to wipe his face with practiced grandmother motions. Because of who your father is. The words hung in the air like a noose. Nell stood so fast her chair rocked back. I need to check on Alex. Of course. Ellen's hand found her shoulder, squeezing with understanding that understood nothing. True mates always know. Jamie, go with her. I'm fine alone. But Jamie was already moving and she caught his expression. Relief at escaping warring with dread at being alone with her. The careful distance was back, 3 feet of space that might as well be an ocean. His body held rigid like touching her might shatter something irreparable. Alex's room felt colder than yesterday, shadows pooling in corners despite the morning sun. He lay exactly as they'd left him, the poison keeping him preserved like a cruel fairy tale. Sleeping beauty with no kiss to wake him. Or rather, a kiss from the wrong person. Nell checked his pulse, steady, useless, while Jamie stood by the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. Theo wants to play in the snow, he said quietly, his breath fogging the window. Through the glass, she could see Theo in the garden below, Bumper hopping circles around him, leaving tiny tracks, both of them laughing at something pure and uncomplicated. Her son's joy was a physical thing, radiating from his small body in waves. When had she last seen him this happy? When had he last laughed without looking over his shoulder? I'll take him out, Jamie offered, his voice carefully neutral. If that's okay. She nodded, her throat too tight for words. 20 minutes later, she watched them through the window. Jamie helped Theo roll snowballs, his large hands guiding small ones, movements patient as prayer. They built 3 figures, a snow family. Big one, medium one, small one. Theo added stick arms with solemn concentration, and Jamie lifted him up, strong hands secure around his waist, to place a pine cone nose on the tallest. The medium figure, the mother, stood slightly apart, like she was already walking away. Tears burned hot tracks down her cheeks before she could stop them. You don't have to do this. Ellen had entered on cat feet, moved to stand beside her, bringing the scent of cinnamon and hope. Do what? Pretend. Ellen's voice was gentle as spring rain. I know it's not simple. I know there are complications. But love rarely is simple. If only she knew the real complications. That Nell wasn't pretending about the wrong thing. That the love Ellen saw was real, just aimed at the wrong son. We can make this work, Ellen continued, her arms sliding around Nell's shoulders, warm and motherly and everything Nell had lost. Whatever the obstacles, you and Theo belong here. You belong with... She paused, and Nell heard what she didn't say. With us. With family. With people who already love you. I need to get some things from the house, Nell said, instead of screaming the truth. And check on Adam. Of course, Jamie will drive you. I can drive myself. I just need to borrow a car. Of course, dear. The keys are by the door. Take whichever you like. Nell fled before the tears could start again. She parked a block from Adam's and walked, needing to feel her feet on snow, needing the cold to cut through the warm fog of Ellen's kindness. Snow crunched beneath her boots, a rhythm like heartbeat. She knew Jamie was following. His breathing carried on the cold air like smoke, always that careful distance behind. He didn't speak, neither did she, but his presence pressed against her back like hands. Adam's cottage smelled like pipe smoke and truth, harsh and cleansing after the mansion's suffocating comfort. They're offering everything, she said without preamble, dropping into the chair across from him. A pack, power, family, a future for Theo. Adam didn't look up from his crossword, pencil scratching. 7 across, deception for protection, 8 letters. Pretense. That works. He penciled it in with satisfaction. So you'll take it? How can I? It's all built on a lie. Which lie? Adam's eyes finally met hers, too knowing, too sharp for an old wolf. You didn't tell the Winters you're Alex's mate. They just assumed. You didn't say you can't heal him. They just didn't ask. Adam, not telling is the equivalent of lying. Is it? He set down his pencil with deliberate slowness. You only need time, love. But when you came here today, you'd already made up your mind. Why don't you say it out loud for this old man? The words scraped out like glass. I can cure Alex. Yes. And when I do, he'll wake up and tell them I'm nothing to him, that Theo isn't his, that their whole happy family is built on Ellen's desperate hope. Yes. And we'll have to run again. Maybe, maybe not. Adam lit his pipe, the scratch of the match loud in the quiet. Smoke wreathed his head like thoughts made visible. What about the one who's fallen head over heels for you? The brother. He can provide. He can protect. I mean, look at him. Through the window, she could see Jamie waiting by a tree, snow catching in his dark hair like stars. He was building something, a small snowman, child-sized with careful details. Every few seconds, his gaze flicked to the cottage door. I killed a very important wolf on my way out, Adam. The confession tasted like copper. And the pack wants my blood for it. So it doesn't matter which brother I choose, even if they want me. They won't want my pack's vengeance following me like a shadow. What about they protect you and Theo from your pack's vengeance? Adam's voice was gentle but firm. If the Winters want you, they have to take the whole package, or they aren't worth considering. He paused, smoke curling. Still, you're going to heal Alex, aren't you? She nodded, her hands clenched in her lap. If because of me, Theo grows up knowing I didn't heal Alex when I could have, that weight will crush him. If I heal him and we run again, at least no one else gets hurt. In theory, yes. Adam's tone suggested practice rarely matched theory. She stood to leave, then turned back. Do you think they know? With your experience? How long do we have before they start questioning? Ellen's hope will carry her for weeks. She needs this too much to see clearly. He took another draw on his pipe. Jamie, he's already questioning. He's just afraid of the answers. Outside, Jamie had finished the snowman. It stood next to the tree, arms outstretched like it was waiting for a hug, like it was waiting for someone to come home. The detail was perfect. Tiny button eyes, a smile made of pebbles, a scarf fashioned from dead grass. She walked past him without a word but felt him fall into step behind her. Still that careful distance, still that painful restraint. His footsteps matched hers perfectly, like dancing with a ghost. Nell. His voice was rough, scraped raw. Whatever it is, whatever you're not saying, we can... Don't. The word came out sharper than intended, edged with all the things she couldn't say. Please, just don't. He stopped walking. She didn't. But she heard what he whispered to the snow, so soft she almost missed it. I respect your privacy and your decision, Nell. But sometimes you need to consider what makes you happy. The words followed her all the way back to the mansion. Theo ran to her the moment she entered, covered in snow and joy, his cheeks apple red from cold. Mom, we made snow families, and Jamie said we can make more tomorrow. And Ellen said I can help make dinner. And Bumper got his tail stuck in the jam jar. Tactical sacrifice, Bumper protested from somewhere inside, his voice muffled. Theo pressed his cold face against her neck, snow melting between them, and she breathed him in. Little boy in winter and happiness she couldn't keep. He smelled like chocolate and possibility. I love you, Mom, he whispered against her skin. This is the best day. The weight of what she had to do, cure Alex, shatter the lie, run again, settled on her shoulders like stones. I love you too, baby. Through the doorway, she saw Ellen teaching Bumper to use cookie cutters, flour dusting everything like snow had followed them inside. Bumper insisted on stamping each cookie with quality assured before it went in the oven, his tail still sticky with jam. Jamie stood in the doorway, and when she turned, their eyes met. Gray to green, truth to lies, what could be to what couldn't. We need to talk, Jamie. The words fell between them like a blade. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. I know. Chapter 5. Jamie asked when Nell finished explaining. His hands gripped the kitchen counter, knuckles white. A rare herb to make the antidote? Silvercrest blooms. They grow deep in the southern bushland. She kept her voice clinical, detached. I was a healer. I've treated hundreds of cases, but I've never made this particular antidote. There are risks. I accept them. No hesitation. Jamie, you don't understand. If I get the proportions wrong, I accept them, he repeated, gray eyes steady. What do you need? The flowers bloom once every 10 years. Tomorrow's the last day of this cycle. Then we go tonight. I'll go. You stay with... like hell. He was already moving, grabbing his coat. You're not going into the bushland alone at night. Footsteps on the stairs. Ellen appeared, already dressed for travel despite the late hour. I couldn't help overhearing. Her chin lifted, every inch the alpha's widow. Whatever the risks, I accept them too. My son needs this chance. I'm on it, Nell nodded. We're on it, Mom, Jamie said. A minute later, Jamie called from the door. The truck's running. A small thump from the hallway. Bumper hopped in, tactical vest bristling with supplies. Mission briefing required, he saluted. Silvercrest acquisition protocol needs tactical support. Bumper, you're staying here. Negative. He bounded toward the door. Already packed. Essential equipment includes night vision goggles, non-functional, emergency biscuits, half-eaten, and 17 different stamps for various scenarios. Before anyone could stop him, he disappeared outside. Where did he... Jamie started. A muffled voice from outside. Tactical position secured! They found him in the truck's boot, already nestled between emergency supplies, wearing what appeared to be a tiny helmet made from a tennis ball cut in half. This is dangerous, Nell warned. All of your missions are dangerous. Drive, Beta. Time's wasting. The drive south took 2 hours, Jamie's truck eating up kilometers of empty road. Snow gave way to scrub, then dense bushland that pressed against the windows like living walls. Bumper provided running commentary from the boot. Left! No, wait, that's not a direction. That's just my opinion on trees. They're very left tonight. Bumper, Jamie said patiently. What does that even mean? Classified under wallaby navigation protocol. They had to walk the last kilometer. The moon was full, turning the bush silver and shadow. Night sounds pressed in. Rustling, breathing, the forest's pulse. Silvercrest blooms, Nell said quietly, pushing through undergrowth that grabbed at her clothes. Silver petals that pulse with their own light. But they're also powerful, dangerous in the wrong hands. That's why they're rare? That's why they're protected. They stopped at a clearing where 3 silver flowers glowed like fallen stars, their petals shifting between silver and pearl in the moonlight. They always grow in threes. And these... Her hand hovered over the air above them, meeting invisible resistance that sparked against her fingers. These are claimed? Claimed? Shamanic protection spells. The flowers are already spoken for. Tactical assessment. Bumper bounded forward, adjusting his tennis ball helmet importantly. I've identified the critical flaw in this security system. Bumper, don't. The spell is designed to track shifters' sense, yes? Well, I'm not a shifter. I'm a wallaby, a distinguished tactical wallaby. He puffed his chest. If I happen to consume these flowers as part of my natural grazing behavior, that's just nature taking its course. That's not how protection spells work. Have you tried it? No? Then you don't know. Bumper was already hopping toward the flowers. Besides, they can't track wallaby scent. What are they going to do, interrogate every marsupial in Australia? Bumper, no! But he was already mid-bounce, sailing through the air with surprising grace, tiny paws outstretched toward the flowers. Tactical flower acquisition in Prague. The protection spell activated like a lightning strike. Blue electricity engulfed Bumper mid-leap. His tactical vest lit up like a Christmas tree, every button and buckle sparking. His fur stood straight out, making him look like a very surprised pom-pom. The tennis ball helmet shot off his head like a rocket. Abort! 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 he shrieked as the spell flung him backward through the air, his tiny body cartwheeling end over end. He hit a tree trunk with a soft thud and slid down into a heap, smoke rising from his singed vest. His whiskers were twisted into tiny corkscrews. "Bumper!" Nell ran to him, heart hammering. She gathered his small body, checking for injuries. His eyes were crossed, pupils different sizes. "Don't move. Can you hear me?" "I can taste purple," he said woozily, "and my stamps are doing the Macarena. How many fingers am I holding up?" "Tuesday." His head lolled. "Did I win?" "You got electrocuted by a magic flower, mate," Jamie said, kneeling beside them. "So, partial victory?" Bumper tried to salute but hit himself in the face instead. "Ow, my everything hurts." Jamie stood, jaw set with determination. "My turn." "What? No. I'm from one of the most powerful packs in America. If they track my scent, we'll handle the political fallout." He was already moving toward the flowers. "Better me than—" "Jamie, protection spells don't care about politics." But he was already reaching for the barrier, his hands steady, determined. The spell hit him like a sledgehammer made of lightning. His whole body went rigid, every muscle locked as blue fire crawled over his skin. The force lifted him off his feet, suspending him in midair for a heartbeat before slamming him down hard enough to leave a Jamie-shaped indent in the earth. "That was educational," he gasped, smoke rising from his clothes. "Can you move?" "Ask me in a week." He tried to sit up. Failed. Tried again. "Why does my skeleton feel like it's on the outside?" "Because you're both idiots," Nell snapped, fear making her voice sharp. "Protection spells are designed to stop anyone from—" "Not anyone," Bumper interrupted, still cross-eyed but raising a wobbly paw. "You took your bracelet off. You're not just anyone." The truth sat between them like a fourth presence. "Nell," Jamie started, still flat on his back. "Promise me you'll stay back, both of you." His jaw worked. "How far?" "The tree line, please." "Come on, soldier." Jamie scooped up Bumper despite his own unsteady legs and protests about tactical positioning. They walked backward until shadows swallowed them, Jamie leaning against a tree for support, Bumper draped over his shoulder like a very small, grumpy scarf. Nell looked at her suppressant bracelet. Years of safety, years of hiding. The moment she removed it, every wolf in a 100-kilometer radius would know exactly what she was. The clasp opened with a soft click. Power flooded her system like lightning finding ground. But unlike the spell's violence, this was pure force, controlled fury. Her wolf surged forward, magnificent and terrible, alpha strength that made the forest itself step back. Trees seemed to lean away. Night sounds stopped. Even the moon seemed brighter, as if paying attention. She heard Jamie's sharp intake of breath from the trees. Bumpers whispered, "Crikey, she's glowing," but didn't look, couldn't look. The protection spell rose to meet her, a wall of blue fire and ancient magic. She didn't touch it. She commanded it. The spell shattered like spun sugar, fragments of power dissolving into sparkles that drifted down like snow. She grabbed all 3 flowers, roots and all, shoving them into her bag as magical alarms screamed through the ether, silent to human ears but deafening to wolves. The shamans would know. The pack would know. Everyone would know that an alpha had stolen their precious flowers. "Run!" She sprinted toward Jamie, her wolf speed turning her into blur. He was already moving, Bumper tucked under one arm like a slightly scorched football. "Retreat! Tactical retreat!" Bumper shouted, then immediately threw up on Jamie's shirt. "Sorry, spell nausea." They crashed into the truck. Jamie had it started before she'd closed her door, throwing it in reverse with one hand while still holding the queasy wallaby. "You're an alpha." His voice was perfectly calm as he drove like a rally driver possessed. "You're not just a wolf, you're an alpha." "Drive now, process later." "Already processing." He took a turn so sharp the wheels left the ground. "Also driving." From his lap, Bumper groaned. "Validated. This driving is absolutely—" More retching sounds. Never mind. Howls rose behind them, closer, angry. They can track my scent, she said. I left it all over those flowers. They'll know. Then we better make this antidote count. Jamie power slid around a corner, Bumper sliding across the seat with a tiny wee that turned into another groan. They made it back to the mansion as dawn broke, truck smoking slightly, one tire definitely flatter than when they'd left. Nell went straight to the kitchen, pulling out equipment she'd prepared earlier. Behind her, Jamie carefully set Bumper on a cushion. I need medical leave, Bumper announced, then fell over sideways. And maybe new whiskers. These ones are too curly now. The next 6 hours blurred. Nell ground petals with mathematical precision. Ellen brought tea. Theo tried to peek in twice. Bumper occasionally announced, "Still alive!" from his cushion, then went back to groaning. Finally, she held up a vial of silvery liquid that seemed to breathe with its own light, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. That's it? Jamie asked, voice hushed like they were in church. That's it. They went to Alex's room together. Ellen followed, her fingers intertwined so tightly her knuckles were white, hope and terror warring on her face. Nell tilted Alex's head back, parted his lips, and poured the antidote down his throat. The liquid glowed as it passed his lips, leaving traces of silver light that faded slowly. His body convulsed once, a full-body shudder, then stilled. Now what? Ellen whispered, her hand finding Nell's, squeezing with desperate strength. Now we wait. But Nell didn't need to wait. She could already feel it working, his wolf stirring like a creature waking from hibernation, the poison retreating like shadows before dawn. By tomorrow morning, maybe sooner, Alex Winters would open his eyes, and everything would shatter. Dinner that night was the kind of perfect that hurt. Ellen had cooked enough for an army, roast lamb with rosemary, potatoes crispy and golden, vegetables that Theo actually ate without complaint. The dining room glowed with candlelight that turned everyone beautiful, softening edges, making the moment feel like a painting. Ellen kept reaching over to touch Nell's hand, her eyes bright with unshed tears of gratitude. You saved him, she whispered for the 10th time. You saved my son. Theo sat on a stack of cushions, proudly recounting his day, and then Marcus, he's the biggest wolf, he showed me how to track rabbits, but we didn't catch them, just followed. And he said, I have natural talent. His face glowed with pride, chocolate sauce decorating his chin like war paint. Natural talent, Bumper agreed from his special chair, a bag of frozen peas balanced on his still smoking head. Runs in the family. Speaking of running, he caught Nell's sharp look and coughed. Running out of gravy, pass it over. Jamie sat across from her, sleeves rolled up, forearms still showing faint electrical burns from the protection spell. He'd barely spoken, but his eyes never left her. When Theo laughed, really laughed, throwing his head back, Jamie's lips curved in a smile so gentle it made her chest ache. More lamb? Ellen offered, already serving before anyone answered. Theo, sweetheart, would you like ice cream after? Can Bumper have some too? Of course, tactical ice cream for our brave warrior. I prefer electrically enhanced warrior, Bumper corrected, then winced. My whiskers still feel like question marks. The laughter that followed was warm, real, filling the room like summer. Ellen reached over to ruffle Theo's hair. Jamie helped clear plates without being asked. Bumper regaled them with increasingly absurd theories about protection spells being allergic to wallabies. It was everything Nell had never dared dream of. A family dinner where no one was afraid, where laughter came easy, where her son was safe and loved, and bath time, young man, Ellen announced, and Theo didn't even protest, just hugged Nell goodnight, his small arms tight around her neck. Love you, Mom? This is the best place ever. The words were knives wrapped in silk. Later, after Theo was asleep, after Ellen had retired still glowing with relief, after Bumper had hopped off to secure the perimeter, raid the kitchen, Jamie knocked at her door. His knuckles against wood sounded like a countdown. Can we talk? She stood frozen, hand on the doorknob. Through the wood, she could hear him breathing, could almost feel the warmth of him just inches away. "Tomorrow?" she lied, the word ash in her mouth. A long pause. She could picture him, hand still raised, processing her deflection, weighing whether to push. Tomorrow, then. His footsteps retreated down the hall, each one taking him further from a truth she'd never tell. The word hung between them like a promise neither believed, like a future already dissolving, like the last normal moment before everything changed. Tomorrow, Alex would wake. Tomorrow, the lie would shatter. Tomorrow, they'd be gone. But tonight she stood in a warm house full of people who'd chosen them and tried to memorize the feeling of belonging, knowing she'd need the memory to keep her warm through all the cold roads ahead. Chapter 6. The tea had been easy. A few crushed sleeping herbs mixed into the evening brew, nothing harmful, just enough to ensure deep sleep. Nell watched Ellen yawn first, then Jamie rubbing his eyes, attributing it to the long day. Even Bumper, despite his protests about tactical caffeine requirements, had dozed off in his cushion fort. She waited until the house settled into drugged silence before moving. Theo's room was dark, his small form curled under the quilt Ellen had tucked around him with grandmother hands. The quilt smelled like lavender. Ellen had sprayed it specially, said it would help with good dreams. Nell lifted him gently, his weight familiar as breathing. He stirred, eyes fluttering open, not surprised, just resigned. Adventure time again. His whisper held no excitement, just weary acceptance that cut deeper than any accusation. "Yes, baby." He wrapped his arms around her neck, burying his face in her shoulder. No questions, no protests. 5 years old and already trained in leaving. His small fingers found the familiar worn spot on her collar where he always held on during their escapes. Their few belongings fit in one bag. She'd never really unpacked, had she? Always ready to run. The suppressant bracelet sat useless on the dresser, its silver surface reflecting moonlight like an accusation. No point now that every wolf in 3 territories could identify her scent. She slipped through the house like a ghost, past Ellen's room where soft snores drifted, past the kitchen that still smelled like rosemary and belonging. At the front door, she paused, looking back at warmth she'd never have again. Tomorrow, Ellen would wake to an empty house and a shattered dream of family. The cold hit like a slap. Snow crunched under her boots, each step a small betrayal. Theo shivered against her, and she pulled him closer, trying to shield him from more than just the wind. Halfway down the hill, a familiar voice made her freeze. "Abandonment in progress, unauthorized departure." Bumper hopped through the snow, tactical vest askew, whiskers still crimped from earlier's electrocution. "Bumper, go back." "Negative." He bounded closer, snow clinging to his fur like tears. "Lucky I don't drink human tea." Tactical decision to stick with puddle water finally paid off. "If you stay, Ellen will spoil you. Jamie will—" She stopped, unable to finish. "Jamie will what? Pine dramatically? Already doing that." Bumper pulled out a stamp, brandishing it like a weapon. "Don't make me use this. I've got terrible friend loaded and ready. Bumper, you think I'd let you face whatever's coming alone? After all these years?" His voice dropped the military act, revealing the frightened marsupial beneath. "You're my family, Nell. Both of you. Where you go, I go. Even if it's stupid. Especially if it's stupid." Her eyes burned. "Get in the truck when we get there." "Roger that." He saluted, then softer, almost breaking. "We're going to be okay, you know." "We always are." But his voice wavered on always, and she knew he didn't believe it either. Adam's truck waited at the bottom of the hill, exhaust puffing white clouds into the darkness. The old wolf stood beside it, shoulders bent with more than age, with the weight of watching another family shatter. "Keys are in it," he said simply, pressing an envelope into her hand. His fingers trembled. "Cash. Enough to get you somewhere far. Adam, don't." His voice cracked like ice breaking. "Just drive safe, love. Keep that boy safe." "You know I will. I know you'll try." He touched Theo's head gently, his weathered hand shaking. "He deserves better than running." "Don't you think I know that?" The words came out raw, desperate, torn from somewhere deep. "I think you're so used to running, you've forgotten there might be another way." Adam stepped back, and she saw tears freezing on his cheeks. "But that's not for me to say. Not anymore." She climbed into the truck, settling Theo in the back. He curled into the seat, eyes open but glazed with a pain too big for his small body. "Mom?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Do you think Jamie will be sad?" The question broke something in her chest, a clean break, like a bone snapping. Maybe a little. I think he'll be really sad." Theo's fingers found the tactical vest Bumper had left, clutching it like a lifeline. "He was teaching me to build snow homes, snow families, and he smells like Teddy." Teddy, the small stuffed wolf Theo's father had bought when he learned she was pregnant. The only thing Theo had of the man who died for loving them. "I'm sorry, baby. Jamie is a good man and a good friend. But if we care for him, we need to leave. Bad wolves are coming, aren't they?" "Yes, and that's precisely why we need to leave the people we love behind. Otherwise, they'll get hurt." "Are you saying you love Jamie, Mom?" The innocent question hung in the cold air. She looked at her son's face, too wise, too knowing, too broken for 5 years old. "Love is complicated. When you grow up, you'll find out the answers yourself. Now, buckle up." "I understand, Mom." Tears rolled silently down his cheeks, each one a small surrender. "Is it my fault that the bad wolves are chasing us?" She pulled him into her arms so fast it hurt, crushing him against her chest. No, Theo, darling, it's not your fault, never your fault." How did you tell a 5-year-old that they were being hunted because she, an alpha, had loved a beta? That the vindictive pack wanted her blood for breaking their laws, wanted Theo to never claim his birthright? How did you tell your child that love should be unconditional, should have no boundaries, but that his father had paid the ultimate price for believing that? How could you tell your child that he was the result of a love that wasn't approved, and that his father's grave was unmarked because even in death, the pack wouldn't acknowledge what they'd been to each other? "He smells like Daddy, Mom," Theo said softly, the words barely audible. Her heart stopped. "What did you just say?" "Jamie smells like Daddy." "You never met your father." "I can feel him through Teddy." His small hand pressed against his chest where he kept the stuffed toy when they traveled. Same smell, safe smell, home smell. She swallowed tears that tasted like copper and regret. "We have to go, Theo. Bad wolves are coming, and I have to take you out of danger first, and then we can talk, okay? Now I'm going to strap you in." His small fingers caught her sleeve. "Will we ever stop running, Mom?" The question she couldn't answer. The question that haunted every mile, every new town, every fake name. "Thermal regulation required," Bumper announced, his voice forcefully bright as he hopped between the seats to curl against Theo. Body heat conservation protocol activated, but even Bumper's warmth couldn't stop Theo's quiet shaking, not from cold, but from the kind of deep, bone-deep exhaustion that came from losing homes before you could even call them home. As she drove away, she didn't look back. She couldn't. But Theo did, watching the mansion shrink until darkness swallowed it, his small hand pressed against the window like he could hold onto it. "Bye, Jamie," he whispered, his breath fogging the glass. "Bye, Ellen. Bye, Snow family. Bye, home." The last word was so quiet she almost missed it. Home, the one thing she could never give him, no matter how fast she ran or how well she hid. In the rear-view mirror, she caught sight of his face, tears streaming silently, his father's eyes in a face that would never know what it meant to stay. Behind them, the mansion slept on, drugged and peaceful, not knowing yet that their borrowed family had dissolved like snow in the morning sun, leaving only tire tracks and the echo of what might have been. Inside the mansion, Jamie fought through fog thick as cotton. The tea. She drugged the tea. His body felt like lead, but he forced himself up, stumbling to her room. Empty. Theo's room. Empty. Even Bumper's tactical vest was gone from its honorary hook Ellen had installed. He made it to Alex's room as his brother's eyes fluttered open. "Jamie?" Alex's voice was rough, confused. "Yes, it's been my name since I know it." "What happened?" "You were poisoned. Nell made an antidote." The words felt like glass. "She saved you." Ellen appeared in the doorway, still in her robe, swaying slightly. "I heard voices. Alex, oh my God, you're awake." She rushed to him, hands fluttering over his face. "My boy, my beautiful boy. Mom, I'm okay. Alex stopped, frowning. "Nell? The woman from the train station?" The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "She's not." Ellen's voice failed. "Alex, you don't know her?" "I mean, she sold me coffee twice, maybe 3 times. Very nice woman, always very helpful. The local community loves her. She'd be good to the community ambassador." Alex struggled to sit up. "Why would she? Wait, where's Victoria? My mate? She should be here." Jamie watched his mother's face crumble in slow motion. "Victoria?" Ellen whispered. "Victoria Ashford, my mate. I called her before the attack, told her I'd found the perfect place for our ceremony." Alex's confusion deepened. "Mom, what's going on?" "We thought—" Ellen sank into a chair. "That little boy, Theo. We thought he was yours." "What little boy?" Jamie's fists clenched. "Mother and son, they were by your bedside every day because the doctors gave up on you." Understanding dawned on Alex's face. "Oh, Christ, Mom, no. Victoria and I have only been together 6 months. I don't have any children." "But you said you'd found someone special." "Victoria! I was talking about Victoria!" Alex ran his hands through his hair. "Why would you think—" "Because she saved you," Ellen said quietly. "Because she looked at you with such care. Because that little boy needed a father and you needed a family and it all seemed to fit." "She looked at Alex with care because she's a healer," Jamie said flatly. "She drugged us and ran because she knew you'd wake up and reveal she was nothing to you." "She drugged you?" Alex's eyebrows shot up. "Sleeping herbs in the tea. We thought—" Ellen pressed her hands to her face. "We must have terrified her. Pushing our family on her, assuming she was yours, planning their whole future." "She's an alpha," Jamie said quietly. Both Ellen and Alex turned to stare. Jamie continued. "She had to remove her suppressant to break shamanic protection spells, to get the flowers for your antidote." "Protection spells?" Alex leaned forward, suddenly all business. "What kind of flowers?" "Silvercrest blooms. In the southern bushland. There was a nasty protection spell. Shocked the hell out of me and Bumper when we tried to break it." Alex went very still. "Describe the exact location." Jamie did, watching his brother's face grow paler with each detail. Alex grabbed his phone, already dialing. "Those are Corbin clan markers. They're the worst kind of shamans. Territorial, vicious, and they hold grudges for generations. But she broke their spell, which means she's powerful, really powerful." Alex held up a hand as someone answered his phone. "Lance? Yeah, listen, I need you to check something. The Silvercrest Grove in southern bushland. Were those Corbin protected?" "They— what?" Jamie and Ellen watched Alex's face cycle through several expressions. None good. "You're sure? The Silver Moon Pack?" Alex's voice was strained. "The same pack that's been alpha-less for years because their heir murdered the successor and ran? Yeah, I understand. No, don't engage. I'll handle it." He hung up, staring at nothing. "Alex?" Ellen prompted. "The Silver Moon Pack identified an alpha's scent at the Grove." "Her scent?" He looked at Jamie. "They're the most powerful pack in the Southern Territories. They've been hunting their escaped alpha heir for years. The one who killed Marcus Blackthorne, their chosen successor, and disappeared with information that could destroy half the supernatural alliances in Australia. Nell, she's on her own, protecting a toddler and Wallaby." Jamie felt numb. If that's really her name. Alex grabbed Jamie's shoulders. "Listen to me. The Silver Moon Pack has gone feral, without proper leadership. They're blood-crazed, and now they know exactly where she is." How long until they track her? They're probably already moving. Jamie, if they catch her... Alex's grip tightened. They won't just kill her. The boy, the wallaby, anyone with her. They'll slaughter them all. Through the window, dawn was breaking over the hills where tire tracks still marked the snow. Somewhere out there, Nell was running. By herself. Chapter 7. The truck died 50 kilometers from the state border. One moment the engine was running, the next, nothing. Just a mechanical death rattle that made the whole frame shudder. Then silence so complete, Nell could hear her own heartbeat hammering against her ribs. Mechanical failure or sabotage? Bumper's voice had lost all military bravado, coming out thin and scared. Nell didn't need to answer. The scent hit her through the closed windows, pine and ash and old blood, mixed with something else. Wolfsbane. They'd been dosing themselves with wolfsbane to mask their approach until the last second. Silver Moon Pack. Mom? Theo's voice was barely a whisper, his small fingers finding hers in the darkness. It's okay, baby. The lie came automatic as breathing, though her wolf was already calculating distances, escape routes, the weight of her son if she had to carry him. Just stay in the truck. She stepped out into pre-dawn darkness that felt thick as tar. The highway stretched empty in both directions, bordered by dense bushland that pressed close like walls. No other cars, no witnesses, the air tasted of coming rain and violence. Perfect for an ambush. They materialized from the shadows like ink bleeding through paper. 6 at first, then 12, then 20 wolves in human form, moving with the liquid grace of apex predators. Their footsteps made no sound on the asphalt, but their breathing created small clouds in the cold air, dragon smoke in the darkness. She recognized faces, despite years of change. Garrett, who taught her to track by scent when she was 12, now bearing scars across his throat. Sienna, who'd braided her hair for her first hunt, her once kind eyes now flat as a shark's. Marcus's brothers, all 3 of them, their faces twisted with the particular hatred reserved for traitors. And at their center, the new Alpha. Or rather, the one who thought he was Alpha. Hello, Nell. Vincent stepped forward, Marcus's cousin wearing authority like an ill-fitting coat. His hair was slicked back with too much product, trying to look like leadership when he only managed to look like middle management. Or should I say, the Alpha who murdered her way out of responsibility. The words hung in the air like a challenge, and every wolf present shifted slightly, ready to move. Vincent. She kept her voice steady, though her wolf snarled beneath her skin, claws aching to extend. Still playing dress-up in a role that doesn't fit? His face darkened, a flush creeping up from his collar. I claim the position you abandoned when you killed Marcus. Marcus was never meant to be Alpha. She let her own power leak out, just a taste, and watched 2 younger wolves step back involuntarily. Neither are you. Yet here I am, leading the hunt for a traitor and her bastard pup. Her wolf surged, wanting blood, wanting to tear Vincent's throat out for making her baby make that sound. But she held it back. 20 wolves, her son in the truck. No way out that didn't end in bloodshed. The shamans were very helpful, Vincent continued, beginning to circle her slowly, each step deliberate. His boots clicked against the asphalt in a rhythm that set her teeth on edge. 50,000 for your location. Apparently you left quite an impression at their sacred grove. An Alpha's scent, clear as day. They could smell your power from 3 territories away. I was saving a life. You were living a lie. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that she could smell the coffee on his breath. The fear sweat under his cologne. Playing human, playing weak, while your pack fell apart without proper leadership. Do you know how many we've lost? How many went feral without an Alpha's guidance? My pack? The laugh that tore from her throat was bitter as wormwood. The pack that beat me while I was pregnant? That killed Theo's father for the crime of loving his family? That pack? Several wolves shifted uncomfortably. They remembered. They'd been there. Your father's pack, your birthright. Vincent's eyes glowed amber in the darkness, his wolf pressing against his skin. which you threw away for what? A beta's bed? A half-breed pup? The truck door opened with a creak that sounded like a scream in the silence. "Don't talk about my mom like that!" "Theo, no!" But her son was already out, standing on the asphalt with thin shoulders squared, chin lifted in defiance that broke her heart. 5 years old, barefoot on cold tar, facing down 20 wolves in his dinosaur pajamas. His small body trembled, not with fear, but with rage. Oh, the pup has teeth. Vincent's smile was all predator, too many teeth showing. "Tell me, boy, do you even know what you are? Half alpha, half beta? Nature's mistake? An abomination that should never have been born?" "I know what I am." Theo's voice didn't waver, though tears tracked down his cheeks. "I'm Theo Morrison. My mum is the strongest wolf ever. And you're just a mean man with stupid hair that smells like too much gel." Someone snorted, quickly suppressed. Vincent's face went from red to purple, veins standing out on his forehead. "Grab them both," he ordered, spittle flying. Wolves moved forward like a tide. Tactical intervention. Bumper launched himself from the truck's roof. She hadn't even seen him climb up there. He sailed through the air, tactical vest streaming behind him like a cape, and landed on Vincent's head with a wet thump. His tiny paws immediately covered the alpha's eyes. "Pocket sand!" Bumper shouted, throwing something grainy and brown that made Vincent howl and claw at his face. "That's not sand, that's emergency biscuit crumbs mixed with expired pepper. But it's very tactical." Vincent spun, trying to dislodge the wallaby, stumbling into 2 of his wolves. Bumper held on like a tiny rodeo champion, his back legs kicking at Vincent's ears. "Get it off!" Vincent roared, his hands finally finding purchase on Bumper's vest. "I'm not an it. I'm a decorated officer." Bumper pulled out a stamp and slammed it against Vincent's forehead with enough force to leave a perfect red rectangle. "Rejected. See? Officially rejected by the Wallaby Council." Vincent's hands closed on Bumper's small body and threw him hard against the truck. The wallaby hit the door with a sound like a melon dropping, sliding down to the ground where he lay still, one paw twitching. "Bumper!" Theo ran toward him, but Garrett caught the boy mid-stride, lifting him off his feet. Theo's legs kicked uselessly in the air. "Let him go." Nell's voice dropped to something that wasn't quite human anymore. "Submit," Vincent countered, wiping biscuit crumbs and tears from his eyes. "Kneel. Acknowledge me as Alpha, and I might let the boy live. Might even let him serve the pack. Omegas are always useful." The insult to her son, calling him Omega, the lowest rank, made her vision go red at the edges. "You want me to kneel?" She took a step forward. Around her, 20 wolves tensed, the air going electric with anticipation. "You want submission? It's all you have left to offer." She looked at Theo, struggling in Garrett's grip, his small fists beating uselessly against arms like tree trunks. At Bumper, still and small against the tire, a trickle of blood matting his fur. At the wolves, who'd once been family, now just strangers wearing familiar faces. No way out. 20 wolves. Her son in danger. For the first time in years of running, she couldn't see an escape. "You know what, Vincent?" She smiled, and several wolves stepped back, recognizing death when it grinned at them. "You're right, I am Alpha. Born to it, bred for it, trained for it. My father was Alpha, his father was Alpha, back 7 generations. But you know what else I am? Defeated. A mother." She dropped her human form like shedding a coat in summer. The wolf that emerged made everyone freeze. Not just big, massive, not just alpha, something more, something primal that belonged to older times when wolves were worshipped as gods. Her fur was silver white, seeming to glow in the pre-dawn darkness. Years of suppression had only concentrated her power, and now it exploded outward in a wave that brought half the pack to their knees. Their wolves recognizing a true alpha, even if their human sides resisted. Vincent shifted in response, but his wolf looked like a coyote next to hers, rangy, desperate, trying to puff himself up to look bigger. She didn't go for him. She lunged at Garrett, 300 pounds of fury and maternal rage. Her jaws closed on his arm with a wet crunch, bones breaking like kindling. He screamed, releasing Theo, who tumbled to the ground. "Run!" She projected through the pack link, her alpha voice making even Vincent's wolves hesitate. "Into the bush, now!" Theo scrambled to his feet, grabbed Bumper's limp form with strength no 5-year-old should have, and ran into the darkness of the bushland. Then 20 wolves descended on her at once. She fought like nothing they'd seen. Years of protecting her son crystallized into pure violence. She caught Sienna's wolf mid-leap, throwing her into 2 others with enough force to send all 3 rolling. Her claws opened red lines across Vincent's flank when he tried to circle behind. She bit, tore, threw her greater weight around like a wrecking ball. Blood painted the asphalt in abstract patterns. Howls split the air. Someone's ear went flying. Another wolf limped away, missing half a tail. But 20 wolves were still 20 wolves. They brought her down through sheer numbers, Vincent's teeth finally finding her throat while 4 others held her legs. She felt the teeth pierce skin, tasted copper in her mouth. "Submit or die," Vincent growled through the pack link, his mental voice high with hysteria and exhausted triumph. She looked toward where Theo had vanished, praying he'd run far enough, fast enough. Praying Bumper was just unconscious, not worse. Praying Adam would somehow know, somehow help. Then she heard it. Engines. Multiple vehicles approaching fast, eating up the highway at speeds that weren't legal. Vincent heard it too, his wolf's ears swiveling, teeth loosening slightly on her throat. The first truck came around the corner on 2 wheels, engine screaming. Through her fading vision, Nell saw something that made no sense. Jamie was driving, his face set in lines of fury she'd never seen before. And he wasn't alone. 3 more trucks followed, and wolves poured out before the vehicles even fully stopped. Not Silver Moon, but Black Ridge Pack. "Get off her scene," Jamie snarled, already shifting mid-leap from the truck, his clothes shredding. "Or I'll show you what a beta can do when you touch what's mine." Vincent's confusion lasted a heartbeat too long. Jamie's wolf, larger than any beta should be, dark brown with strikes of gold, hit him like a freight train made of rage and protective fury. The impact sent both wolves rolling, and Vincent's grip on Nell's throat released with a wet pop. The clearing erupted into chaos. Black Ridge wolves, at least 30 of them, crashed into Silver Moon like a wave hitting rocks. Alex was there fighting with the precision of a trained alpha. Ellen was in wolf form, small but vicious, going straight for the wolves nearest to where Theo had run. But Nell's vision was going dark, Vincent's bite too deep, blood pooling beneath her and steaming in the cold air. She tried to stand, managed half a step before her legs gave out. The last thing she saw was Jamie's wolf standing over her, massive and protective, fighting off 3 Silver Moon wolves at once while his blood dripped onto her fur. His eyes met hers, still gray, even in wolf form, and she heard his voice in her mind, which should have been impossible because they weren't pack, weren't bonded. "Stay with me, Nell. Don't you dare leave us. Don't you dare leave me." Then the world dissolved into nothing, and she fell into darkness, wondering if she'd imagined the word mine. Her wolf had claimed him. Chapter 8. Jamie's wolf tore through the underbrush, following a scent trail that shouldn't exist. He wasn't bonded to Theo or Bumper, had no pack connection to track them by, but something deeper than logic pulled him forward. Their scents were carved into his bones like memory. Behind him, 30 Black Ridge wolves moved in perfect formation. Alex had stepped back without being asked, letting Jamie lead despite every protocol that said an alpha should never follow a beta. "Your hunt, your lead," Alex had said simply through the pack link, and Jamie had never loved his brother more. The Australian packs Alex had cultivated relationships with over months of development deals had responded within minutes. Morrison pack from the mountains, Riverside from the coast, old alliances honoring older debts, showing up when it mattered. "Trail's getting stronger," Jamie projected, his wolf's massive paws eating up ground. "They went deep. Too deep. Theo was 5 years old carrying an injured wallaby. How had he gotten this far? A flash of silver white through the trees made his wolf's heart stutter. Nell. She was limping badly, her left rear leg barely touching ground, blood still matting her fur. But she was moving, stubborn as always, refusing to stay behind despite barely surviving Vincent's attack. Ellen's smaller wolf flanked her, occasionally bumping Nell's shoulder to steady her. His mother, in protective grandmother mode, was terrifying in any form. "You should rest," Ellen projected to Nell. "My son is out there." Nell's mental voice was steel-wrapped in agony. "I rest when he's safe." They pushed deeper into bushland that got thicker with each meter, until even wolf forms had to slow. Ancient trees twisted together overhead, blocking out the dawn light. The air tasted wrong, metallic, charged, like the moment before lightning struck. Then the trail vanished. Not faded, vanished, as if Theo and Bumper had simply ceased to exist mid-step. "What the hell?" Alex's wolf circled the spot where scent ended. Figures materialized from the trees. Not wolves, humans in robes that belonged to another century, hoods shadowing their faces. Shamans, at least a dozen, arranged in a perfect circle around them. Jamie recognized the electric taste in the air now. The same sensation from when he'd tried to grab those flowers, right before magic had thrown him on his ass. "This is not good," he told Alex through their link. "That's the same magic that protected the silver crest blooms." "The spell that knocked you out?" "The spell that nearly killed me, and I only touched the edge." The lead shaman pushed back his hood, revealing a face like weathered leather and eyes that held no warmth. Wolves who steal from sacred groves must pay the price. "We're surrounded," Alex noted, his wolf's hackles rising. "Not by numbers." Nell's voice cut through, weak but certain. "By magic. There's a boundary spell. I can see it. Silver threads in the air. Nobody cross it." "Why?" Jamie asked. "Because this one isn't meant to protect. It's meant to kill. Any wolf that touches it will burn from the inside out." The shaman smiled, showing too many teeth. "The Alpha knows our ways." "Good. Then you know you cannot escape. The boy and the creature are already ours. You will—" A stick bounced off his head, then another. "Ammunition delivery!" Bumper's voice rang out from somewhere behind the shamans. "Tactical stick deployment!" More projectiles rained down, sticks, stones, what looked like a half-eaten sandwich. "Is that wallaby throwing rocks at us?" one shaman asked, bewildered. "They're not rocks. They're mineral-based defensive implements." Through the chaos of flying debris, shapes emerged from the forest behind the shamans. Wolves, but old ones, gray-muzzled and scarred. At least 20, moving with the careful precision of age and experience. Adam stepped out from behind a tree in human form, and his hand was around the lead shaman's throat before anyone could react. "Hello, Erasmus," Adam said pleasantly, like they were meeting for tea. "Fancy seeing you here, threatening my family." The shaman, Erasmus, went very still. "Adam Wainwright, you're supposed to be retired." "I was, but someone left a tracker in my truck." Adam's grip tightened slightly. "Smart wallaby, that one. Led me right to where I needed to be." "That was the emergency biscuit tin," Bumper called out, "but I may have added some modifications." Theo appeared beside Bumper, his small arms full of the biggest sticks he could carry. His dinosaur pajamas were torn, feet bleeding, but his eyes blazed with determination as he hefted a branch nearly as big as himself. "Let my mum go!" He threw the branch with surprising force, catching another shaman in the knee. "Ow, did that child just— Good throw, recruit," Bumper coached. "Aim for the soft parts next time." From the surrounded wolves, Nell's voice carried a mix of pride and exasperation. "Theo, I told you to stay in the truck." "Tactical explanation required," Bumper announced, puffing up. "That was my fault. Operation Confuse and Escape is standard protocol." "Operation what?" Jamie asked. "I've been training him," Bumper said proudly. "When bad wolves surround Mum and she's outnumbered, Recruit Theo executes the 3-step plan. Step 1. Surprise confrontation to confuse enemy. Step 2, create distraction allowing Mum to stop worrying about us. Step 3, tactical retreat to advantageous position. You taught my 5-year-old combat tactics? Nell's voice was caught between horror and incredulity. It worked, didn't it? Except for the part where Vincent threw me like a cricket ball. That wasn't in the training manual. Bumper rubbed his head. Note to self, add dodge angry alpha to curriculum. So when Theo got out of the truck, Jamie started. He was following protocol. Good soldier. Bumper beamed at Theo. The retreat into the forest was textbook. We only got a little bit lost, and then very lost. And then these grumpy, robed people found us. Adam's voice cut through, still dangerously pleasant. Here's what's going to happen, Erasmus. You're going to drop the boundary spell, your people are going to walk away, and we're all going to pretend this never happened. They stole from sacred groves. Adam's other hand came up, holding something that made Erasmus's eyes go wide. Remember Prague, 1987? That favor you owe me? I'm calling it in. Erasmus's jaw worked. That was a life debt. Your life, specifically, which I saved. Adam smiled, all teeth. Unless you'd prefer I take back that favor? The silence stretched taut as wire. Drop the boundary, Erasmus said finally. But, another shaman started, drop it! The silver threads in the air dissolved like morning mist. The electric taste faded. Jamie's wolf immediately moved toward Nell, but she was already running, limping, stumbling, but running toward her son. Theo met her halfway, dropping his remaining sticks to throw his arms around her massive wolf neck. Mum, we did the plan. Bumper said I executed it perfectly except for the screaming part. There was a lot of screaming, Bumper admitted, hopping over. One ear was bent wrong, dried blood on his vest, but his eyes were bright. But we called it tactical voice projection to sound better. Nell shifted to human form, pulling both boy and wallaby into her arms, tears streaming down her face. No more tactical training without my permission. But it worked, Theo protested. You didn't have to worry about us and you could fight better. That's not, Nell started, then stopped, looking at her son's earnest face. We'll discuss it later. Alex stepped forward, still in wolf form. Wait, he called to the retreating shamans. How much to turn your attention to the Silver Moon pack instead? Erasmus paused. You want us to trap them? Contain them. They're feral without proper leadership, dangerous to everyone, including themselves. Silver Moon? Erasmus looked interested despite himself. Vincent's rogues? They've been causing problems for everyone. 100,000. 50. 75. Done. No, Nell said, standing shakily. Let them be. They're broken enough without magical imprisonment. They tried to kill you, Jamie said, finally shifting to human form, not caring about his nakedness. They tried to kill Theo. And trapping them makes us no better. She swayed, and Jamie caught her before she could fall. They're lost without real leadership. That's punishment enough. Erasmus studied her for a long moment. You're really her, the Silver Moon heir, the alpha who loved a beta. I'm just a mother trying to protect her son. Same thing in the end. Erasmus pulled his hood back up. We'll leave Silver Moon alone, but the grove theft still demands payment. How much? Alex asked. Not money. Erasmus's hidden eyes fixed on Nell. A promise. The boy carries 2 bloodlines, alpha and beta. When he comes of age, he'll be something new, something that could change everything. Promise he'll have proper training. Both sides of his nature. Nell's arms tightened around Theo. I promise. Then our business is concluded. The shamans melted back into the forest like they'd never been. Adam watched them go, then turned to Nell with a raised eyebrow. You've been busy. How did you? Bumper slipped a tracker in my truck. Military grade, he informed me via note. Adam pulled out a small device. Also left detailed instructions on finding you, potential danger scenarios, and a request for backup with maximum prejudice. I knew you'd appreciate proper tactical communication. Bumper puffed up proudly. Also threatened to stamp "abandoner" on my forehead if I didn't come, Adam added dryly. Ellen approached, now in human form wrapped in someone's coat. We should get them home. Nell needs medical attention. I'm fine, Nell started. You're bleeding from 6 different places. Jamie cut her off, his hands already checking her injuries with gentle efficiency. We're going home. Jamie, home, he repeated firmly, where we can talk about why you drugged us and ran. Where we can discuss the fact that you're an alpha and I don't give a damn. Where we can figure out why I could find you without a pack bond when that should be impossible. It's not impossible, Adam said mildly. Just rare. Happens sometimes when— Not now, Adam, Nell and Jamie said in unison. Theo looked between them, then up at his mother. Does this mean we can stay? Because I didn't finish my snow fort and Jamie promised to teach me about load-bearing walls. Structural integrity, Jamie corrected automatically, then froze. I mean, if you're staying, are you staying? Nell looked around, at Ellen's hopeful face, at Alex's knowing smirk, at Adam's gentle smile, at Bumper, who was already pulling out a stamp labeled family. Finally, at Jamie, whose eyes held a question and a promise and something that looked like forever. We're staying, she said quietly. Validation approved, Bumper announced, stamping the air enthusiastically. Permanent residence granted. Tactical family formation successful. Does this mean I get to finish teaching Theo about proper snow fort construction? Jamie asked, trying for casual and failing completely. Among other things, Nell said, and despite the blood and exhaustion and the fact that they were standing in the middle of nowhere. She smiled. Other things? Jamie stepped closer. We have a lot to talk about. We do. His hand found hers, careful of her injuries. Starting with why I've been able to sense you since the moment we met. That's a long story. Good thing we're not running anymore, he said softly. We have time. Behind them, Bumper Stage whispered to Theo, they're having a moment. This is when we pretend not to notice, but actually notice everything for future tactical advantage. What's a moment? Theo whispered back. It's when adults make everything complicated instead of just saying they like each other, Bumper explained. Very inefficient, that's why I stick to stamps. Much clearer. Should I execute confuse and escape protocol? Theo asked seriously. Negative, this is a good kind of complicated, I think. Adult emotions are very confusing, even for tactical experts. Ellen laughed, breaking the spell. Can we have this conversation after we get Nell medical attention? And maybe some clothes for Jamie? Jamie looked down, seemed to remember he was naked, and shrugged. Priorities. Your priority should be pants, Alex said, throwing him a spare shirt from one of the trucks. We have traumatized enough shamans for one day. As they walked back toward the vehicles, Theo slipped his hand into Jamie's free one, completing a chain. Jamie, Nell, Theo. You came for us, Theo said quietly. Always will, buddy, Jamie replied, squeezing gently. That's what family does. Family, Theo repeated, like he was tasting the word for the first time. Then, more thoughtfully, Bumper says family means you protect each other. That's why we had to run when the bad wolves came, to protect you from worrying so you could fight better. That's very brave, Jamie said carefully, but next time maybe we protect each other by staying together. But Bumper's tactics might need some adjustment, Nell said firmly, giving the wallaby a look. My tactics are flawless, Bumper protested. We survived, didn't we? And we threw many sticks. Very therapeutic. Above them, dawn finally broke properly, painting the forest gold and green and new. They were bloodied, exhausted, and had more enemies than allies. But they were together. And for the first time in 7 years, Nell wasn't looking for escape routes. She was just walking toward home, her son's hand in hers, Jamie's warmth at her side, their ragtag pack surrounding them, a wallaby tactical officer who took his training duties too seriously, a grandmother alpha, a brother who understood, an old wolf who knew when to show up, and a borrowed pack that had come when called. It wasn't the family she'd planned, it was better. Epilogue. The Validation Station. 1 year later, the Glen Valley Mountain Station had never looked better. Fresh paint gleamed on the Victorian trim, flower boxes overflowed with spring blooms, and a new sign proclaimed it officially validated in Bumper's distinctive stamp. Inside the expanded ticket booth, now more of a proper office with an attached living space, Nell counted the morning's receipts while Jamie installed child-safe locks on the lower drawers. "Theo figured out the last ones," he explained, catching her amused look. "Found him redistributing all of Bumper's stamps into more logical categories. Tactical reorganization disaster," Bumper called from his custom-built command center in the corner, complete with stamp storage, a tiny desk, and a nameplate reading, Chief Operations Officer. "My system was perfect, alphabetical by threat level." "How is approved a threat?" Theo asked from where he was doing homework, legs swinging from his chair. "It threatens my authority if used incorrectly." The door chimed and Ellen swept in with a basket that smelled like heaven. "Lunch delivery. And before you protest, Nell, I was making extra anyway. The Melbourne Pack is visiting next week and I'm testing recipes." She'd moved to Glen Valley permanently 6 months ago, buying the cottage next to Adam's and turning it into a grandmother's paradise. Always cookies in the jar, always an ear to listen, always arms ready to hug. "Mrs. Chen's granddaughter is asking about wallaby scout training again," Ellen added, unpacking containers. "Apparently, Bumper's reputation has spread." "Tactical influence expanding," Bumper preened. "My youth program is revolutionary. Though I may need to adjust the curriculum after the incident with the Thompson twins and the emergency biscuit raid." "You taught them to break into their own pantry," Nell reminded him. "I taught them resource acquisition in crisis scenarios." Alex arrived for his weekly visit, Victoria by his side. The real Victoria turned out to be lovely, a healer like Nell, which had led to long conversations about antidotes and an unexpected friendship. "Station's looking good," Alex said, then grinned at Jamie. "Very domestic." "Says the man who installed a nursery before the wedding," Jamie shot back. Victoria blushed, her hand going to her still flat stomach. "We're being optimistic. Baby protocol activated." Bumper immediately started pulling out stamps. "I have future cousin and tactical infant ready to go." "Please don't stamp my stomach," Victoria said quickly. "Yet," Bumper conceded. The afternoon rush came, as always. Tourists heading to the mountains, locals who just liked to stop by for Adam's coffee. He'd insisted on installing a proper machine and teaching everyone his secret. Theo helped, very seriously stamping tickets with his own special stamp Bumper had commissioned, validated by Theo. "Mom," he said during a lull, "tell the story again." Which story? Though she knew. "The one where Dad meets you at the station." Jamie looked up from where he was fixing a sticky drawer, his eyes soft. They'd had the conversation 6 months ago, about Theo's father, about the beta who died protecting them, about how Jamie's scent was so similar because fate sometimes gave second chances in unexpected ways. "Well," Nell started, pulling Theo onto her lap, "I was working the late shift, and this very jet-lagged American crashed through the door. And Bumper stamped him," Theo giggled. "Best tactical decision ever," Bumper confirmed. "I knew he was the one immediately. The stamp never lies." "You stamped him because he startled you," Nell laughed. "Tactical intuition." As she told the story, embellished now with each retelling, the door chimed again. Adam entered, moving slower these days, but still steady. "Brought the mail," he said, then paused, sniffing the air. "And unless I'm mistaken," he looked directly at Nell, eyebrows raised. She nodded, unable to hide her smile. "What?" Jamie asked, looking between them. "What are you—" He stopped, his whole body going still. Then he was across the room, pulling her carefully into his arms. "Really? Really? What's really?" Theo demanded. Tactical sibling incoming! Bumper shrieked, figuring it out immediately. Protocol revision required. Double the training, twice the stamps. Ellen dropped her spatula. A baby, another grandbaby? Due in winter, Nell confirmed, laughing as everyone converged for hugs. A winter baby, Jamie murmured against her hair. Perfect. I can teach them about structural integrity of snow forts from birth. And I can teach them evasive maneuvers, Bumper added. No, everyone said in unison. Fine. Delayed tactical training, but I'm designing the birth announcement stamps. That evening, after the station closed and dinner was eaten and Theo was asleep with Bumper curled at his feet on night guard duty, Nell stood on the platform with Jamie, watching the stars. Never thought I'd have this, she said quietly. What, a wallaby who thinks he's military personnel? She laughed, leaning into his warmth. A home. A real home. You always had a home, Jamie said, pressing a kiss to her temple. It just took us a while to find you. Inside, she could hear Ellen teaching Victoria her secret pancake recipe, Alex and Adam arguing about chess, Bumper sleep-talking about tactical cookie deployment. Her family, messy, loud, unconventional, perfect. Jamie? Thank you for coming after us. Thank you for stopping running long enough to be caught. The night train's whistle echoed through the valley, steam and dreams and possibility. The same sound that had brought her here 7 years ago, desperate and alone. Now it sounded like welcome, like safety, like home. From inside, Bumper's voice drifted out. Enemy biscuits at 12 o'clock. Deploy countermeasures. Should we check on him? Jamie asked. In a minute. They stood together, watching the train disappear into the mountains, taking other people to their adventures while theirs continued right here, in a little station that had become the center of their unlikely pack. Somewhere in his dreams, Theo was building snow families that stood together. Somewhere in the night, their new child was growing, already loved beyond measure. And somewhere in his tactical vest, Bumper had the perfect stamp for this moment, happily ever after. Tactically achieved. The end author's note. The Winters family would like you to know that Bumper is available for tactical consultations, stamp commissioning, and wallaby scout training. Age 5 and up, waivers required. The Glen Valley Mountain Station is a fictional location, but the love is real. Thank you for reading, and remember, when in doubt, validate with stamps. For more adventures of an alpha on the run, a beta who doesn't care about hierarchy, and a wallaby with delusions of military grandeur, please violently shake your e-reader while chanting, "Tactical sequel required." Bumper insists this will work, results not guaranteed. And there you have it, The Alpha's Last Station, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. Sometimes the place you stop running becomes the place you start living. Sometimes the wrong brother is exactly the right mate. And sometimes a wallaby with a stamping obsession knows exactly what he's doing. If Nell and Jamie's story touched your heart, if Bumper made you laugh, or if you found yourself cheering for this unlikely pack, please take a moment to like this video. Your support means everything. Did you have a favorite moment? Was it Bumper's tactical interventions, Jamie refusing to let Nell run, or maybe Theo finally getting the family he deserved? Comment below. DN. Leo reads every single one and loves hearing what resonated with you. Want more shifter romances with heart? Subscribe and hit the notification bell. New stories drop every week, each one written specifically for viewers like you who believe love doesn't follow the rules. Share this story with someone who needs to believe in second chances, found family, or the power of a really good stamp to the forehead. Remember, you're not just listening to stories. You're part of a community that believes in happily ever afters, even when they come with tactical wallabies. Until next time, this is the Alpha's Last Station, where every ending is just a new beginning and you're always validated.